Listen up, wrestling fans.
Los ingobernables de Japón.
G1 Climax.
G1 Climax.
A block. B block.
And I'll be hyped as a bitch.
I am very hyped because it is G1 Climax season. This is Strong Honor here on thefanspodcast.com. Check us out on the Fans podcast feed and on the Best Pro Wrestling podcast feed. So you can find this in two places this week and throughout the G1 Climax. I'm Tommy Stryker, host of the show. Find me on Twitter at Tommy Stryker, spell Stryker with a Y. And yeah, we're talking Ring of Honor and New Japan. We're going to preview the G1 Climax. If you're new to New Japan, I'm going to explain how the G1 Climax works, the blocks, the scoring, how you win, how you lose, what the stakes are, all of that. So we'll get to that after a little bit of Ring of Honor talk. Not a ton this week, so we'll get to the G1 Climax and all of that here in a minute. All the speculation. I filled out two different brackets, basically, made two different predictions for outcomes. One is a little more straightforward, a little more basic, which is what the way New Japan tends to tell the stories is the basic story, and then the drama plays out in the ring, usually. But then I got a little more complicated with some of the mathematics of it all, and so I filled out a second bracket with a different result. So a couple of different ways to look at it, and so I'll get into all of that here in a few minutes. But what I wanted to start with was some Ring of Honor news. Kevin Kelly tweeted that he is all done now with Ring of Honor. Yeah, he's not been, quote, under contract with them for a little while now, officially under contract with New Japan to do the English commentary occasionally for New Japan. But now he's focusing more on his duties for New Japan and not taking any more Ring of Honor dates. So kind of unfortunate news for Ring of Honor. Kevin Kelly's been very, very good, but good news for New Japan fans. More English commentary, more English content, possibly on, definitely on NJPW1972.com. That's the English website where you can get all of your New Japan news and results and upcoming cards and all of that. So more content there, I imagine, and just more stuff for the English-speaking audience. So good stuff for New Japan. Ring of Honor, I think, is left in good hands. You know, Ian Riccaboni, when he first came on, it was kind of like, oh, who's this guy? But I think he's done very well. Colt Cabana has definitely helped out when he's been on commentary. A nice team there. And him just being comfortable behind the mic, too. Colt Cabana is, I think, helps out. And all of his experience that he brings to the pro wrestling game, I think, definitely is a positive for Ring of Honor. And, you know, with the news of Austin Aries being released from WWE, maybe he could go to Ring of Honor and sit in on some commentary stuff, too. So I think that would help out there. I like the idea, too, of now that Kevin Kelly focusing more on his New Japan duties, with Jim Ross being done with Access early next year, and with all the criticism lately of Jim Ross's performance on the G1 special, I could see maybe Access maybe letting him out of that deal a little bit early, possibly, and maybe getting a guy like Kevin Kelly in there. It's really strange how they're double dipping with the English commentary anyway. Yeah, I know Access TV is in charge of, they hired Josh Barnett and Jim Ross to do the commentary, but then again, like I said, New Japan actually hiring Kevin Kelly and Don Callis to do that English commentary just for the streaming service. It seems redundant. Why not just have those guys do the English commentary for the Access TV as well? So I could definitely see Kevin Kelly getting more involved on the Access TV side of things. I'm sure Tama Tonga would be very happy with that. He was very unhappy with Jim Ross's commentary. If you saw his comments on Twitter, he basically saying that at least Kevin Kelly knows the storylines and our fucking names. So yeah, Tama Tonga was very upset over the Jim Ross commentary. So I thought it was fine. I thought, yes, it could have been better, but it's just one of those things. It's you think. Jim Ross has been doing the Access stuff for quite a while now, I feel like. And I feel like he should be definitely more familiar with the names of the guys. Guys like Ishii. He kept calling him Ishii the whole time. I've talked about this before on this show and others. So, but yeah, I think Kevin Kelly probably moving into that Access role early next year once Jim Ross is gone. And I would like to see also Josh Barnett stay on that team and, in fact, maybe even join a three-man booth, God forbid, which is very distracting and feels unnecessary most times in WWE. But I really like what Josh Barnett brings to the table, and I'd love to hear his voice on NJPWWorld.com with Kevin Kelly and Don Callis, because I think he adds a different dynamic. His knowledge of shoot wrestling and catch wrestling and all of that, and just his knowledge of the moves and how they work and how he explains them, I think, is very, very good. So him bringing that to the table, whereas Don Callis kind of bringing the smarmy kind of heel to almost comedy stuff, but him and Kevin Kelly have been really good lately, and Kevin Kelly being that straight man, he's just been really great. He's really adapted to that role in New Japan very well, I think. And say what you will about that, but or about the contrast between the Japanese commentary and the English commentary is kind of what I was getting at. Kevin Kelly is not that kind of hyper commentary guy, but a lot of English commentary guys aren't that anymore. But I think that's what also makes listening to the Japanese commentary a little more fun, is that even though you don't understand what they're saying, they tend to get more excited as the match gets exciting. So even though you don't know what's going on, the excitement level, the soundtrack, if you will, is appropriate to what's going on in the match. As the match climaxes, the commentary climaxes, in other words. So there's all of that. Let's talk a little bit of the Ring of Honor TV show this week. I went into this a little bit on Best Pro Wrestling Podcast this week, too, but we'll kind of go over some more things here. Cody says that his championship coronation is going to happen next week. He is upset because Christopher Daniels interrupted it last week and blindsided him, and they had a big brawl last week. So Cody doing the heel thing. He's going to have the big championship coronation next week. Then it was Coast to Coast teaming up with Flip Gordon versus Dalton Castle and the Boys in a non-title six-man match, with Dalton Castle and the Boys being the new six-man tag champions. This was mostly a showcase for Flip Gordon. Flip living up to the name Flip with lots of fun flips. He does this crazy thing where he it's the thing where you climb the ropes without using your hands. So it's like a springboard where you use one foot on the middle rope, one foot on the top rope, then he does a 450 splash to the outside of the ring. So definitely living up to the name Flip in this match, and this being a bit of a showcase for him, even though Dalton Castle does get the win with his boys. Dalton Castle hitting the bangarang over LSG, part of the Coast to Coast team. Then we had some advancement in the storyline of the Silas Young Jay Lethal saga ongoing here. This all started when Silas Young attacked Jay Lethal while he was recording a commercial, or getting ready to record a commercial in the locker room area. He basically went after his knee. They had the match at, I wanted to say Great Balls of Fire. No, they did not. It was Best in the World. And Jay Lethal won the match, but it was Beer City Bruiser and Silas Young who attacked Jay Lethal after the match, causing the bruised rib injury. And so here on TV, they showed Silas Young doing a promo in front of the hospital that Jay Lethal went to right after Best in the World. So he cut a promo there saying, we're not going to see Jay Lethal for a while. Then later in the show, he's doing another promo where he has one of those OSHA signs where it says, this many days since a lost work injury or whatever, but he manipulates the sign so that it's something to the effect of, it's been this many days since Jay Lethal has been around. It's been 15 days since Jay Lethal has been on Ring of Honor television. And It's funny because he's accentuating that when a week later, all of the New Japan fans saw him in the G1 special in USA tournament for the IWGP US title, where he actually won a match versus Hangman Page, but then eventually lost to Kenny Omega in the tournament. But doing a great job showing the fighting spirit, selling that rib injury that was caused at Best in the World, but this saga ongoing. So whenever Jay Lethal comes back, probably sooner than later, he will possibly get his revenge on Beer City Bruiser and Silas Young. Matt Taven took on Ultimo Guerrero from CMLL. Taven, very popular also in CMLL, so this kind of a feud extending out of CMLL here into Ring of Honor. It was Team CMLL, Ultimo Guerrero, and I forget his tag team partner now, but they beat the Kingdom at Best in the World. So singles match here. Taven gets the win with a very unique DDT-style driver after a low blow as he grabs the referee so that he cannot see the low blow. So Taven getting the dirty win here. Then the main event, the Motor City Machine Guns versus War Machine. I was completely expecting War Machine to get the victory here, but it was the Motor City Machine Guns with their Made in Detroit move. That's a top rope blockbuster-assisted powerbomb. Motor City Machine Guns used double team offense to keep the advantage on Ray Rowe. Hot tag to Hansen. He hits his forever clotheslines back and forth in the corner. Pop-up power slam, but one of the big moves that one of the finishers for War Machine is they hit the pop-up power slam. Hansen runs and dives out of the ring onto the opponent so that Ray Rowe can get the pin. Well, he goes for the big dive out of the ring, misses it, and Alex Shelley saves the pin from Ray Rowe's pinning Sabin. He saves that with a double stomp off the top, and then the Motor City Machine Guns hit their finisher and get the win. So this is building up to the Motor City Machine Guns taking on the Young Bucks for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships on July 29th at the Queen City Excellence Show. Now, this isn't a pay-per-view. This probably isn't going to be on TV. This is just something that they do to make their house shows seem more important, and then they put it on their streaming services and charge a small fee, cheaper than a pay-per-view, like $15 generally, so that you can watch it on their website. Probably not going to be a title change, but hey, you never know. But yeah, the Motor City Machine Guns getting a nice little victory, a big victory actually, over War Machine, current IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, in fact. So good for the Motor City Machine Guns. All right, let's get into New Japan and some G1 Climax speculation.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Before I get to the speculation part of it, let's talk about what this tournament is and what it's about, how it works, how you can follow along at home, because obviously this is a newer show on the Fans Podcast, and so I'm assuming many of you listeners might be new to New Japan. I myself am pretty new to New Japan. In fact, I've only been following this for a little over 2 years now, so a lot of this is fun and new and exciting for me, and so it's fun to kind of pass on the little bit of knowledge that I know, and I'm learning more and more every day about the history of it and everything else. So let's get into it. What is the G1 Climax? This is the ultimate wrestling tournament. New Japan does a very good job of keeping singles matches fresh and saving singles matches. And so this is the tournament that comes around every summer when you get to see tons of singles matches. And they all mean something because it is in this tournament form. So the wins and losses mean something in every match, and the winner of the tournament gets the shot at the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom in January. So this is a big tournament with big stakes and a main event shot at the big title at the biggest show of the year. So they do a really good job building up to this tournament, making the stakes of this tournament very high, and all of that. So how does it work? So in the tournament, you've got 20 wrestlers total. Now, this is not your typical single elimination tournament. It is a round robin tournament. Well, what the hell is a round robin tournament? Well, I'll tell you. So like I said, 20 guys, and they are divided into two groups, the A block and the B block. So 10 guys in each block, and you wrestle everybody in your own block once. So you have 9 matches, essentially. So this tournament takes place, it starts on the 17th, this coming Monday, and then goes through August 13th. So this is almost a month-long tournament taking place, several days during the week, each week. And I think also another first for this year is that every show for this tournament will be live on New Japan World. Previously, they would tape delay them, just show the tournament matches. But I believe, and I could be wrong on this, but I looked at it earlier today, and it looked like it said every show is live. So if you're that into it, you can watch every single multi-man tag undercard match and every single G1 Climax match live if you wanted to. I will not be doing that. I will mostly just be watching the singles matches, even skipping through most of those, getting to the results, because there's so much to take in on these matches. But there are tons and tons of great matches throughout the tournament. We'll get into all of that in a little bit. So, like I said, everybody wrestles everybody in the A block, everybody wrestles everybody in the B block. You win your match, you get 2 points. Every match has a 30-minute time limit. So if you go to a time limit draw, that's 1 point for each wrestler in the time limit draw. Obviously, if you lose, no points. So then whoever has the most points at the end of it goes on to the finals. So the person with the most points in the A block faces the person with the most points in the B block, and then the winner of that match is your G1 Climax champion. They get a briefcase with a contract in it, just like Money in the Bank, except they don't cash it in whenever they want. They just cash it in at Wrestle Kingdom. It's your main event. It's your Wrestle Kingdom main event briefcase. There is usually 1 or 2 matches along the road to Wrestle Kingdom where that briefcase will be defended. Not always, but it certainly was the case last year. Even Kenny Omega said after he won the tournament, he assumed that he would lose the briefcase in a singles match on the road to the Tokyo Dome, but he did not. He kept the case and challenged Okada in that awesome 6-star classic at the Tokyo Dome last year. So I talked about the points. Now, there are definitely occasions where tiebreakers can come into play. So if 2 guys have the same amount of points, well, it comes down to who beat who in the tournament. So, like, for instance, in one of my scenarios, where was it here? One of my predictions for the B block, I had Okada and Omega both with 15 points because I had them going to a time limit draw in one of my predictions, and so it came down to, because Okada had beat Suzuki. So in this scenario, so this is going to be very confusing. So I had both Okada and Omega with 15 points. Because it went to a draw, it goes to who beat who. Now, the only match I had Omega losing was to Minoru Suzuki. I had Okada beating Suzuki, but Okada also lost to Michael Elgin, where I had Omega beating Michael Elgin, but Michael Elgin only had 12 points, whereas Suzuki had 14. So because Okada beat the guy that Omega lost to, and he had more points than Elgin, you see what I'm saying? It sounds complicated, but as you look at it on paper, it's a lot of fun. The first year that I tuned into this, I was very overwhelmed. It was confusing, but I really encourage you to follow along, find a tournament bracket, fill it out, or maybe not even fill it out, but just keep score as you go through the tournament. Maybe you can't see all the matches, but there's so many sources on. There's this podcast. Well, I will keep you up to date on all of the results. You can follow along there. There's endless websites where they're following along. You can follow along with the results, and it really is a lot of fun to try to keep up with what's going on and who's beating who and who has momentum and who's losing momentum and oh my God, this guy beat this champion. Will he get a shot at that title? And that's the other thing too, is there's all of these champions in here. The never Never open weight champion Minoru Suzuki is in here. Of course, Kenny Omega, the brand new IWGP United States champion. How will he look in the tournament? Who will beat him, if anybody, and get a shot at the U.S. title? Of course, Kazuchika Okada, the IWGP champion, been on such a roll this year. Will anybody beat him in the tournament? Of course, a lot of people speculating because Okada versus Omega, their third match of the year, is going to take place the last night of the G1 Climax. So a lot of drama in that B block. In the A block, Hiroshi Tanahashi, the former ace of New Japan. Will he have a big run? Could he make it to the finals? In one of my secondary predictions, I have Tanahashi and Okada going to the finals, because what a story that would be there. Of course, it took Okada so long to finally defeat Tanahashi at the Tokyo Dome to win the title. For the longest time, Tanahashi had Okada's number at the Dome. There were plenty of matches where Okada could beat Tanahashi, like at the G1 and at other shows. But it was could Okada win the big one, and he finally did 2 years ago at the Dome. So does Tanahashi win the whole thing and go on to challenge Okada again? But does Okada end up winning the whole thing? But because of like the draw situation that I was talking about, does Okada go on to win and then challenge Omega for another rematch at the Tokyo Dome? So many different fun scenarios here. But again, like I said, all the champions in the tournament here. The return of Kota Ibushi, a big story, of course. Does he go on a run? A lot of people, my first prediction bracket that I talked about has a lot of people speculating about Kota Ibushi and Omega meeting in the finals, because that's what Kenny Omega talked about, and he's been talking about on social media. I want to meet you, Ibushi, in the finals. What a great story that would be, with Kenny Omega having all of these bucket list items he wants to accomplish in New Japan before leaving New Japan. And now there's a lot of people talking about, sounds like Kenny Omega is committed to New Japan all the way until 2019. So we've definitely got some time to tell the Kenny Omega stories. We don't necessarily have to do the Omega Ibushi match here in the G1 finals, and it would be very unprecedented. It was unprecedented last year to have a Westerner, a Canadian, even an American win the G1 Climax. That was unprecedented. For that to happen 2 years in a row would probably be insane, which is kind of why I'm leaning towards my second prediction that I made for the tournament, with the finals going to Okada and Tanahashi. And even in that one, I have Tanahashi basically winning all of his matches, but on the final night of the A block, I have Naito beating him. But it doesn't matter, because I have Naito mathematically eliminated. Naito's story has been not giving a fuck about that IC title, finally losing it to Tanahashi, Tanahashi bringing it back to prominence, and Naito not having the greatest G1 Climax. I have him only with 12 points, so having 3 losses, in the tournament for Naito. But him finally beating Tanahashi in the G1 Climax could lead to him challenging Tanahashi at the Tokyo Dome to regain the IC title that maybe now he wants it, and now he covets that title. So who knows? That's just one story you could tell. There are so many stories you could tell, and as you can probably tell, I'm very excited to see how it plays out in front of me. Like I said, lots of possibilities. I've made 2 different prediction brackets, so I have no idea where they're going. There's simple versions of the stories that they could tell. There's complicated versions, mathematical stories. So like I said, a lot of fun. Check it out. And if you have any questions, anything I didn't quite address here, please hit up the Twitter at Tommy Stryker, at Strong Honor, of course, at the Fans Podcast if you want to. Hit up any of those and throw the questions my way, and I'll do my best to answer them. And if I don't know the answer, I'll get it somebody who might, and hopefully they can answer it for us. But definitely join in the conversation when it comes to the G1 Climax, New Japan, Ring of Honor, all of that. Because for me, it's definitely not about I'm definitely not a tweeter, but I definitely like to engage with others on there and retweet things that I think are neat or whatever. So, but let's take a look at the first few nights of the G1 Climax tournament itself. It does start on Monday the 17th, so I will be doing a show, another Strong Honor, sometime next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere in there. So, but let's just talk about like the first 3 nights because, like I said, it starts on Monday. Then the second night is on July 20th, which I believe is a Thursday, and then they go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So 4 shows in a row next weekend, starting on Thursday. So, but let's just talk the Monday, Thursday, and Friday show just to kind of get a primer of what's coming up here. The two big, I mean, obviously on each one of these shows, so for instance, on night 1, July 17th, there's going to be an undercard with tag matches, but then the final 5 matches will be the singles matches for the A block. And then the second night on July 20th, they're going to feature singles matches from the B block. So they go back and forth every night. So the first night, A block, second night, B block, third night, A, back and forth like that, so on and so forth. So the first night, you get 5 matches. Like I said, there's 10 guys, so each guy has 1 match per night. Makes sense, right? Okay. So July 17th, you got your undercard matches with tags featuring guys from the other block, the B block, and then you got your singles matches from the A block. So a couple of the big matches from night 1. Well, there's 3 of them actually. Hirooki Goto, former never openweight champion, versus Tomohiro Ishii. Just had a really good showing in that U.S. tournament. Ishii, a former never openweight title holder himself, so that should be a good match. Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on Zack Sabre Jr. It should be a very, very good match. And then finally, main event for July 17th, Kota Ibushi versus Tetsuya Naito. Naito, of course, the former IWGP Intercontinental title, and Ibushi making his big return to New Japan. I talked about this a little bit on Best Pro Wrestling podcast as well, but it's a really interesting story. Kota Ibushi, he was, around for New Japan a few years ago, working for them quite a bit. Then last year he went and did the Cruiserweight Classic thing here in the States for WWE. Obviously did not sign with WWE. Now he's been back in New Japan this year doing the Tiger Mask W thing. I love how they're kayfabing the Tiger Mask W thing. I saw a thing where Kota Ibushi was saying, Tiger Mask W, he's great. He actually asked me for some advice, and I showed him how to do some cool moves and stuff like that. So they're talking about it in a kayfabe sense, which I love, because in fact, when Kota Ibushi would wrestle under the mask as Tiger Mask W, yes, he would do some of his signature moves, but it wasn't the same Kota Ibushi. So I'm definitely looking forward to Kota Ibushi in the tournament, getting back to him with his hard kicks and strikes and the crazy moves that he does. And one of the things I'm predicting, I think, in both of my brackets is a big upset with Kota Ibushi. I shouldn't say a big upset, but Ibushi upsetting Naito on night 1. Night 2, Sonata versus Evil. 2 guys from Los Ingobernables de Japón facing off with each other. That should be a fun, interesting matchup. And then main event for the second night, Kenny Omega, current IWGP United States champion, taking on Minoru Suzuki, the current never openweight champion. In his post-match promo, Kenny Omega, post-match promo from the G1 special here in the United States, right after he won the United States title, he talked about how he wanted to make the United States title important. He talked about how the never openweight title was a joke. I don't know if he was referring to the singles title, but with him having this match, basically the first night of the B block with Minoru Suzuki, definitely adds some drama there. Getting back to the A block on July 21st, the Friday show, Togi Makabe versus Tomohiro Ishii. A couple of years ago, these two had some really great, hard-hitting, back and forth, never open-weight championship matches, so looking forward to that one. Then also on the Friday night show, Kota Ibushi versus Zack Sabre Jr. Should be very, very good. One more day, I'll go into the Sunday show so we can kind of cover one more B block show. And like I said, we'll talk about all of this next week too, and talk about the first couple of nights of the tournament as I do next week's Strong Honor. But the Sunday show for the B block, Okada versus Elgin, should be very good. As a matter of fact, in one of my predictions, I have Elgin upsetting Okada so that Elgin can get a future title shot, probably at King of Pro Wrestling or one of the other big events between the end of the G1 Climax and the Tokyo Dome show. I would predict Okada to go over in that match, but I like the idea, or what they sometimes do in these tournaments, having a guy beat the current champion or a current champion so that they can challenge that champion sometime later on. A lot of people still waiting for Tomohiro Ishii's championship match because Ishii beat Okada in last year's G1 and he never got a title shot, so a lot of people waiting for that. Finally, another match from that Sunday show looking forward to is Sonata from Los Ingobernables taking on Minoru Suzuki, the king of Suzuki Gun. I'm looking forward to seeing how Sonata does in this tournament. He's just kind of a guy floating around out there in Los Ingobernables right now, but I'm really hoping that he gets a chance to shine in this year's G1. Probably not going to be a contender at the end, but I'm hoping for some really good matches and maybe some elevation. Maybe even an upset here for Sonata versus Suzuki and a singles match in the future there. Could be fun. So, like I said, tons of fun stuff to look forward to. I'm very excited for this tournament this year.
And I'll be hype as a bitch.
Definitely excited for this G1 Climax, the 27th version of this tournament. All right, let's wrap it all up with the Kojima tweet.
Now it's time for the Satoshi Kojima Tweet of the Week.
I did 2 last week. I'm going to do 2 again this week. You can follow Kojima at Cozy_Lariat. Kojima, of course, a New Japan wrestler, part of the Tenkozy tag team with Hiroyoshi Tenzan and, of course, Satoshi Kojima. Kojima in the tournament. Looking forward to seeing him there. But yeah, 2 tweets from Kojima again this week because they kind of go together here. I came to the hairdresser. I will cut my hair from now. I want to be handsome. And then the second tweet. I want to be a good-looking hairstyle. I want to be like Brad Pitt. The name is Bread Pitt. So, like I said, follow me on Twitter at Tommy Striker, spell Striker with a Y, and check out my other podcast, The Best Pro Wrestling Podcast, where myself, my buddies Taco and Joe talk all things WWE, Lucha Underground, NXT, Ring of Honor, and New Japan. All of that on bestprowrestlingpodcast.com, or just look up Best Pro Wrestling Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, whatever your favorite podcast gimmick is. Follow The Fans Podcast at The Fans Podcast, and check out all of the other great shows right here on The Fans Podcast. For Strong Honor, I'm Tommy Striker. Bye!
A bunch of grown men playing dress up. It's wonderful. We are Takushi.
Block. B block.
G1 Climax. My botch.